Joss Whedon tries to top 2012's The Avengers with the new installment, which finds the all-star Marvel superheroes dispatching the remnants of a nasty Hydra organization. The powers of Marvel's all-star superheroes go a bit wobbly in Avengers: Age of Ultron. Faced with the daunting prospect of topping the surprise and excitement of 2012's The Avengers, the third highest grossing film of all time, writer-director Joss Whedon mixes some brooding downtime in with the abundant spectacle. To be sure, series junkies will get their fix from the sheer massiveness of the exploits, but at least two of the big action scenes are lackluster, while the climax and resolution could have been worked out in more complex, less rote ways, so as to further increase intrigue and anticipation for Avengers: Infinity War Parts 1 and 2. Already scheduled for release in May of 2018 and 2019, respectively. Not that any of this will matter much, since the pent-up excitement among the enormous international fan base is so intense that nothing will keep the summer's presumed biggest franchise blockbuster from soaring beyond the $1 billion threshold internationally. Hands-on producer Kevin Feige and his associates have built a cinematic empire quite unprecedented in Hollywood history, a veritable solar system of staggeringly profitable individual franchises unified by the overpowering collective force of the Avengers. So while sidelined enterprises like the new Daredevil TV series continue to pop up, the company's confidence in the enduring appeal of its theatrical mainstays is such that it recently published the release schedule for its remaining big-gun commercial titles from now through the end of the decade. At this point, no one would be willing to bet on when and whether a sense of terminal déjà vu might set in to bring it all to an end. In the meantime, the key points of interest surround how many surprises and twists can be wrung from a format that, due to core fan expectations, demands great fealty. Any significant deviations from the source material are taken as personal betrayals by the hardest core geeks. Last summer, Guardians of the Galaxy showed that Marvel could play it a bit more fast and loose than it generally does, but the big-name franchises still seem sacrosanct. And so it is with Avengers: Age of Ultron, which at moments takes a peek down some shadowy side roads but ends up mostly zooming along the main highway to deliver what the audience wants rather than something even a little bit different. Picking up where last year's Captain America: Winter Soldier left off, the new film, without preamble, dives right in to show the Avengers dispatching the remnants of the nasty Hydra organization in a hectically and indifferently staged forest combat scene that leaves Clint Barton/Hawkeye Jeremy Renner worse for wear, while also introducing two new adversaries: twins Pietro and Wanda Maximoff, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen aka Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Victory allows for some passably amusing scenes of the heroes blowing off steam. The favorite party trick of Thor Chris Hemsworth is to challenge all comers to lift up his hammer. Natasha/Black Widow Scarlett Johansson and Bruce Banner/The Hulk Mark Ruffalo pursue a little mating dance in which Hemsworth's interest is predicated upon his retaining his human rather than superhero form, and Tony Stark/Iron Man Robert Downey Jr. and Steve Rogers/Captain America Chris Evans take stock of the advances their old Nazi nemesis Strucker Thomas Kretschmann appears to be making in the artificial intelligence department, specifically with the most sophisticated humanoid ever devised, Ultron, voiced with marvelous robotic nuance by James Spader. Ultron is a cool and sophisticated creation. What he lacks, of course, is a heart, which is what makes him such an imposing villain. A sleekly designed robot you might even call handsome, he makes an excellent intellectual and smart-ass sparring partner for Stark. But when he first appears, he's still on training wheels. However, he does recruit the Maximus to his cause, an easy matter since Stark killed their parents. Ultron is not yet entirely ready to conquer the universe, but in their first skirmish with him, the Avengers are outclassed enough to begin worrying. Licking their wounds at the safe house of Hawkeye's farm, the Avengers go into a funk. The impatient Thor quickly takes off to find answers. Bruce resists Natasha's desire to get something physical cooking between them. Stark, lamenting that Ultron is trying to tear us apart, consults with old cohort Nick Fury Samuel L. Jackson. Briefly, while Mad Men's Linda Cardellini, playing Hawkeye's Stand By Your Man wife, is stuck with the intentionally funniest line of dialogue in the film, "You know I totally support your avenging." While some of his partners wallow in disarray, Captain America heads for Seoul, where the next evolutionary step is to emerge via a device called the Cradle, which will hatch mass-produced android soldiers that will pave the way for Ultron's world domination. But a major chase through the city involving the runaway subway train falls flat due to basic conceptual silliness and poor continuity. Of course, the Avengers ultimately get it together to do the kind of butt-kicking they're supposed to do, and a very welcome addition to the team comes in the form of the android Vision. Red-faced and green-garbed, Vision is given a striking profile and overall presence by Paul Bettany, heretofore limited in the Marvel world to vocal work as Stark's computerized butler Jarvis, and it can be hoped, if not assumed, that this most intriguing character will play an even more important role in the final two Avengers installments. Ultimately, Whedon's efforts to invest the heroes with a degree of unsurety and vulnerability comes off as half-baked. As such, an effort can only go so far due to the nature of the material. After all, these are comic book characters defined by their double identities. A third dimension is neither required nor perhaps even desired. If ending on a dramatic cliffhanger no had been desired, the elements were there for the taking, including a semi-tragic component along with uncertainty about Ultron's ultimate fate would arguably have only further cranked up anticipation for the coming chapters. But then, What does that matter when the automatic attendance of millions is assured? Avengers: Age of Ultron succeeds in the top priority of introducing a worthy opponent for its superheroes and giving the latter a few new things to do. But this time the action scenes don't always measure up, and some of the characters are left in a kind of dramatic no man's land. The returning series actors acquit themselves in the expected agreeable manner, while series newcomer Andy Serkis has a terrific couple of minutes as a tough but stressed South African criminal. Production company: Marvel Studios. Cast: Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Cheadle, Baron Taylor Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Cobie Smulders, Anthony Mackie, Hayley Atwell, Idris Elba, Linda Cardellini, Stellan Skarsgård, Claudia Kim, Thomas Kretschmann, James Spader, Samuel L. Jackson, Andy Serkis director. Joss Whedon screenwriter. Joss Whedon, based on the Marvel comic book characters. Producer: Kevin Feige. Executive producers: Jon Favreau, Stanley, Victoria Alonso, Jeremy Latham, Patricia Witcher, Alan Fine, Louis Despacito. Director of Photography: Ben Davis. Production designer: Charles Wood. Costume designer: Alexandra Byrne. Editors: Jeffrey Ford, Lisa. Lassek. Music: Brian Tyler, Danny Elfman. Visual effects supervisor: Christopher Townsend. Casting: Sarah Hawley Finn,